There is a lot of big breaking news coming out of multiple states right now. We have big news coming out of Wisconsin, Nebraska, Arizona, Florida, and we have some updates on what's happening in Maine as well. So, lots of big breaking news, and states of emergencies have been declared in multiple states and multiple regions as well to deal with these catastrophes that are happening. So, let's just rapid fire get into everything that's happening today. So, just to start off, we have big breaking news coming out of Wisconsin here. Hazmat crews are responding and evacuations are underway in rural Wisconsin in the town of Stanley after a tanker truck carrying thousands of gallons of hazardous materials overturned. And it was carrying sulfuric acid, which is very toxic and actually potentially can kill you if you are exposed to enough of it. So one of these things that they just keep happening. These spills keep happening. These toxic chemical accidents keep happening. And we have an update on one that happened in Maine as well. If you remember, I reported on this that happened in Maine a few days ago. There was a massive train derailment in Rockwood, Maine, and it was right near a lot of central waterways in Maine and actually ran into the Moosehead Lake in Maine. And now they are admitting that the water and the soil is being contaminated from this train derailment. And stay tuned because we're going to get to Arizona, Florida. Lots of big emergencies are being declared right now in the U.S. But they are now admitting that Rockwood, Maine, northern rural Maine, is being contaminated and it is getting into the soil and getting into the waterways nearby. I was mentioning how it was getting into the Kennebec River and Moosehead Lake because Rockwood is right near them, but they're also saying that it's getting into the Moose River in Maine and it is affecting the Little Brassura Lake as well. That's what the Maine Department of Environmental Protection is saying, and it's contaminated the region. They're also saying that the train was carrying hazardous materials, and they're figuring out that situation as well. So just another check mark on the list. There was a massive chemical plant explosion in Indiana. There was a massive chemical plant explosion in Georgia, right? That was affecting Jacksonville and Savannah, Georgia as well. And they're saying it's going to burn for days. There was a massive plastic factory that exploded, and it still could be burning right now, right? So all these things keep happening, and we have another one in Nebraska, right? So another factory has exploded, and it is a tragic incident here, you can see. So it says one person has passed from an accidental explosion at the Wood River ethanol plant. So America's critical infrastructure is being taken offline one by one by one. Every single factory takes years to rebuild, or it just never gets rebuilt. They take the insurance check and they shut down, and that's another factory that's gone. We've already sent all of our factories overseas in our productions, and now our domestic factories are being hit and destroyed internally as well. So if some big event does happen, we will not be able to recover. We will not be able to produce our own chemicals and our own materials. Let's get into what's happening here in Arizona as well. There's a emergency situation, and then we will get into Florida because these two are related. So you can see here Arizona drivers are reporting gas stations running out of regular fuel. Why is this happening in the US? Why are we not able to supply our gas stations? And this is focused mainly in the Phoenix, Arizona region, but it is happening at gas stations all over the state. And I've noticed this in Colorado many times over the past year, where gas stations do not have gas for a good week or two. It'll just be like very scarce. They only have premium, or they have nothing. This keeps happening in cities all over the US, and this is a real emergency because you can't drive your car. You can't have transportation, and potentially if the power's out, all right, there's another emergency going on, you also cannot run your generator. And that's exactly what's happening in Florida right now. Look at these devastating pictures that are coming out of Florida. The airport is flooded in Florida. This was a few days ago. They have reopened the airport, but look at this picture. South Florida airports are flooding, absolutely devastating. And this is causing a fuel supply crunch in South Florida and at specific ports like Everglades Port in South Florida due to this flooding. And they have fuel, but they are not able to transport it due to the roads being flooded. And you can see here people are kayaking, canoeing through the roads of Florida. And I've seen this happen many times. I lived in Florida for 95% of my life. Most of my life I've lived in Florida. And I've seen these hurricanes many times, many times. I've been through at least a dozen hurricanes in my life. And I've seen this exact scene many times where neighbors are kayaking through the streets to get out. I've always been extremely blessed where my house has just been like on a little hill or something like that, so it never experienced flooding, or it's just in a good area where it didn't get hit as hard. But I know people personally that their house is still destroyed from the hurricanes that have happened the past few years, and it just keeps getting hit over and over. I know people personally in like the Sarasota, Florida region that got hit in the past few years. I can't remember the name of the hurricane, but their house is still destroyed. The roof is still ripped off, and they are still struggling to get insurance money and claims and get their house repaired. And they honestly just want to repair their house and then sell it and get rid of it and get out of this area. All right, because this keeps happening. And I've talked about it before. There's all these things going on. Geo weather modification, geoengineering. There's all these insane things going on with the weather, and they could be related potentially. All right, let's get into what's happening here. Also, one of the biggest European Russian pipelines. All right, there's a ton of them. They act like the Nord Stream one's the only one. No, that was just one of the biggest ones, but they have a ton of gas pipelines traveling between Europe and Russia. This one goes deep into Russia and goes all the way to Poland, and their gas pipeline has been temporarily shut off. And is this a dry run to shut off more pipelines? All right. We know this could happen at any moment. We saw the Colonial Pipeline in the southern U.S. be cyber attacked just a few years ago, and it caused massive gas shortages in the southeast of the U.S. just a few years ago. All right, it was a Colonial Pipeline cyber attack, and that's why you need to have a generator. All right, and you need to have gas cans. I should have put a picture of gas cans. This is the exact generator that I have, except I don't have wheels on it because I'm not that fancy. I just throw it around. Get prepared now, guys. Have a generator because these people also have the power out, so they're stranded here. Their homes are flooded. And then the power's out as well. And honestly, with a flooding situation, it's hard to even use your generator. Where do you even put it? If your home's flooded, if your yard's flooded, where do you even put it in this situation? All right. But still, the power could go out. Winter storms, tornadoes, cyber attacks, grid attacks, all these things are on the table right now. And you should be prepared, and you should have a generator, and make sure it's an inverter because those give you clean electricity that will not damage your electronics, damage your phone, damage your computer, things like that. Make sure it's an inverter generator as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit it up down there. Hit that like, hit that sub, all that good stuff if you want to. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.